Okay, welcome back, guys. So we're hopefully wrapping up this rock, paper, scissors game today. We had some issues yesterday that slowed us down, but it looks like we're good to go now. I've taken the liberty of setting up a script here already for you called Player to Go. Let's have a look at it. Okay, so this is the code that we're going to have to do on the other side for player 2 that basically does the same thing as player 1. It'll put things into a holding pattern, waiting for both players to pick. So let me walk you through what we did here. When I received that message, and that's going to be sent by another script once we pick what player 2 is going to do, we'll set that variable to 1, which will have some repercussions over on the other side. And then we'll start cycling through stuff the same way we did before. We'll play a sound, go next costume, wait, and it'll just start cycling through again. So if player 2 picks first, instead of player 1, it's the one that will cycle through the same script. When it's done, we're just going to, I'm going to change this to 3. I think I did that for the other one as well. It will just in case both of you pick right away, you still want to see a few flips before the final one. So no matter how few flips there are in this repeat until, there will still be at least 3 flips, or you can go 5 before it finally shows you the final answer, which is player 2 pick. And then we set this variable called player 2 done to 1. So we have to make sure that all this stuff is done before player 1 evaluates who won and who didn't. So we're going to be looking for this variable to flip over to 1, and then player 1, who's doing all the calculations for who wins and who doesn't, is the one that will be able to tell what's going on here. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, let's get a new script going here. So we'll need a green flag here just to position our rock properly on the screen. Remember that if we move stuff out of the way accidentally, we always want to have a script just to tell it to get back into position again. So I'm going to go when green flag clicked, and we're going to go motion. There we go. And so the other one was at like minus 110, 20. We don't have to change the Y position. That can stay at 20. And our X position is just going to be 100. And you'll see that when I click the green flag, it'll pop, ooh, not 20, minus 20. Didn't see that little minus sign on my piece of paper here. Let's try that. There, that looks beautiful now. We've already positioned these variables here on the screen. This is the score variable for both these guys. And so we're ready to go here. So the game is going to start for player 2 the same as it starts for player 1 when we receive a message that says new round. So we're going to grab that same message, and these two things are going to happen simultaneously. And this is where we get into a little bit of trouble with this file, because we've got 2 different screens of the program that are both doing stuff independently. Then they have to meet up again at the end, and then we can do the output part. And so that's where I had to do some funny stuff with variables to get everything timed properly. Okay, so we'll go to our events. We'll grab when I receive a new round, start new round. There it is. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to flip that variable called set player 2 can pick. Player 2 can pick to 1. So again, that's going to stay 1 until we actually pick 1, and then it'll switch to 0 so that we can't accidentally pick twice is the idea. All right, then we need this is working a lot more smoothly, by the way. I did a little computer upgrade yesterday, and everything's working just so much better than before. I'm really happy about this. Okay, so below that, we're going to need a forever. So let's go to our control blocks. We'll grab a forever and pop that in there. And so here's where we're going to do our keyboard inputs for player 2. So I'm going to set it up later on for an AI to work, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So let's go and first thing we have to do is make sure that that player 2 can pick hasn't been flipped over. We also want to make sure at this point whether we've flipped on or off the AI. So I've created this little flip switch on the top right of the screen you'll see here that says whether the AI is on or off. So if the AI is turned on, we want to ignore all this script and let the computer do the picking. But if it's off, then of course we are going to do the picking ourselves for whoever is sitting at the keyboard. And they're going to go left button, up button, or right button to pick rock, paper, or scissors. So first thing we're going to do here is check. So let's go grab an if statement, and we need to check two things. Is player 2 pick equal to 1, and is AI turned on? So we'll need an and statement. Let's go to our operators. We'll grab an and right here. And in there, we want to put two different equal signs. So let's grab two equal signs right here. Boy, my zooming is working much more nicely. I'm just very happy with my computer today. There we go. So both of these, so this first one has to be equal to 1. It's player 2 can pick is what we're looking for here. So let's go to variables. Player 2 can pick is equal to 1. And AI on. So we want the AI to not be on here. So we'll say 0. If AI on is equal to 0. All right, that's good. I'm just going to make sure that variable is probably flipped over to 1 right now. So I'm just going to make sure AI on is equal to 0 right now, just to make sure our script doesn't get messed up by that later. Okay, so now we're filtering through this here. We're not letting any keyboard inputs in unless player 2 hasn't picked yet and unless the AI is turned off. And so now we can just add our keyboard inputs. We'll say if the left arrow key is pressed. So let's grab an if statement. And in there, I'll go to my sensing and grab this command here that says key space pressed. And you'll remember that we can change that over to any key on the keyboard. So I'll say if left arrow is pressed. Then we're going to do all the stuff we did with our own player 1 as well. We're going to first set player 2 can pick. So we're going to set player 2 can pick to 0 to show that we've already picked. Then we're going to set player 2's pick to rock. So set player 2 pick. So what we picked when we hit the left arrow is rock. So I'm just going to type rock in there. And then we're just going to give a go command, which will trigger that go sequence that we just looked at a minute ago. So we'll go broadcast message. So let's go control broadcast, or actually events, broadcast message, player 2 go. All right, so that's the basic script. We're going to repeat that for that's for rock. We'll do the same thing for paper and scissors. Remember, we're going to make a duplicate here. So move your mouse cursor over the second if, and then right-click, duplicate. We're moving it right below, so make sure it's right below the second one. These should be parallel. I'm going to go ahead and do it a third time, just so that the script is looking the way that it's supposed to. Okay, so this is looking good vertically here. So these are all piled on top of each other. If they're not, you've done something wrong. You've inserted one if statement into another one like this, and that will break your script, remember. So everything should be piled on top of each other. Now let's change these inputs. So the middle one should say if up arrow is pressed, we get paper. And the lower one should say if a right arrow is pressed, we get scissors, S-C-I-S-S-O-R-S. Make sure you spell that properly because it actually counts. It will mess up your file if you didn't. Okay, so that should be working now. Let's give it a quick test and then we can have a little break, assuming this works, of course. So let's click the, let's maximize my screen. I should probably hide these variables. Okay, well, let's keep them visible for now. Green flag. All right, so this time I'm going to pick as player 2 instead of player 1. So I'm going to hit the up key for paper, and you can see it's signaling that we're already that we're done. And then I will I'll pick paper for player 1 as well. I'll hit the P key, and there we go. And they're both set at paper. Hey, it worked for once. Wow. Let's try that one more time, guys. So we don't have a reset switch set up here, so I'm going to have to click the green flag again. Green flag. So I'm going to pick. I'll start with player 1. I'll go scissors. And then for player 2, ooh. So that variable didn't get flipped back again for player 2 has picked. And that's why player 2 wasn't able to pick. So that's something that we're going to have to look at. Let me click the green flag here. I think we're going to address that in the next little bit of code. So there's player 2, I told it paper, and player 1, I'll go rock. There we go. So everything looks perfect. It's just that player 2 has picked variable is not working properly. So let me save my file here, and then we'll have a little break for a minute, and I will be right back. Okay, guys, so we're back, and I just added one little big piece of code when we were gone inside player 2. It says when I receive start new round, go set player 2 done to 0, and that should solve some of the problems we had a minute ago with the game not resetting itself properly. But all the real action's happening here in player 1, where we've got this custom block here called define pick winner, and that's where we're going to determine which of these 2 players has won the game. So all it is a whole bunch of if statements. So let's grab our first if statement. We don't have to put this in a forever because it only evaluates it once, basically. We're just going to go through, and we've already picked, and so we're just going to look at what player 1 picked, at what player 2 picked, and as you guys know, in rock, paper, scissors, it's really about just remembering which thing defeats which. Rock defeats scissors by crushing it. Paper defeats rock by covering it, right? And so we've got to just put those in manually. There's no smart AI way to determine this. We just have to do this manually. So so there are 9 different possibilities of what can happen in a game, and we're just going to have to cover them all. We're going to make one, and then we're going to start duplicating it. So let's grab an if statement. Control if, and we're going to say, so we need an and statement here. We need to say if player 1 did this and player 2 did this, then do this, basically, right? So let's grab an and statement from our operators. Now for player 1, we can determine what the actual pick was just by looking at which costume we have here, right? So let's do it that way. We're going to go with costume name equals rock. So we need an equal sign in here. Let's grab one from our operators. And the block that says costume name is over in looks. I don't think we've even used this one before. It's a little bubble. And it's right down here. It's called costume number. And we can change that to say costume name. So I'll say costume name. So if costume name is equal to rock, and now we need to look and see what player 2 did. So for this one, we have to use, let's grab another equal sign and pop it in there first. There's my equal sign. And we'll, instead of we can't use costume name for the second character because we're only looking at the costume of the character that we're playing with right now, the sprite that we're on here. So we can go back to that variable, though. We know that there's a variable called player 2 pick. And that contains the word saying what player 2 picked. So let's go grab the round block here that says player 2 pick. We'll drop into that hole, and we'll put rock again. So what's going to end up happening here is we're going to split the program off. Let me just save my file. We're going to flip our program at this point over to different branches depending on if it was a win, a loss, or a tie, right? So we don't want to have that all inside this if statement because there's going to be 9 different if statements, and that means a lot of code. So we go from here over to another thing that determines what happens if we win, or whether we win or lose. So in this case, it's rock versus rock. So we're going to actually need 3 different events here. I'm going to go broadcast an event here. Let's go to our events. And we'll get this set up right now. So we can broadcast. We don't have the existing one in here, so we'll go grab new message. And we will do the 3 different conditions right now. So I will type tie, and that will be the first choice. But we're just going to add the other ones here too. So I'm going to go P1 wins for player 1 wins. And we'll do another one for P2 wins. There you go. So those are the 3 broadcasts we're going to need to set this stream back in order again. All right, so I'm going to go broadcast tie, because this first one, rock versus rock, is a tie. So from here, we can just start duplicating. So let's make 9 of those. There's 2, 3. And I can actually go ahead and duplicate these 3 by grabbing the top if statement, duplicate, and now I can make 3 more. And I'll do 3 more as well. So make sure they're not connected. Whoa, I just did something horrible there. Okay, let me just trash this and start again. Duplicate, put it on the bottom. Actually, before I attach it, we'll duplicate again. If you guys find this all too confusing, then you can find an easier way to do it. So the end result is we have 9 different if statements here that represent all the different possibilities. Okay, so now we just need to, you guys could probably figure this out on your own, but we need to do all the different possibilities for rock, paper, scissors. So let's go through all the player 1 rock possibilities. So player 1 could go rock and player 2 can go rock. But what happens if player 1 goes rock and player 2 goes scissors? So we'll type in scissors. Spelling is important here, guys. If you spell a word differently, your program will break, so be super careful of that. And for the third one here, I'm also going to put paper. Okay, so what happens? So we'll just assume that I'm player 1. So I'm rock and you're scissors. I win. Player 1 wins. I'm rock and you're paper. Will I lose? So player 2 wins. Okay, that's the first 3 taken care of. Now let's go down to the next 3. So for the next 3, I'm going to pretend that I played scissors. So let's go SCISSORS. If you want, you can copy this. I'm going to highlight it, then go Control C, and then put scissors in the other 2, so I don't have to type that hard word over and over again. So I'm scissors. Player 2 is rock. That means that I lose, so player 2 wins. I'm scissors and player 2 is paper. That means I win. Player 1 wins. I'm scissors and player 2 is scissors. And that, of course, will end up in a tie. There we go. So that's the next 3 done. I will save this file in a minute when I get the last ones done if you guys don't want to go through this with me. Okay, and for the last one, I'm going to be paper. So I'll type paper for all 3 of these. Double check your spelling, guys. This is one of those cases where it's not just the teacher being silly, but if you type it wrong, the computer will get mad at you, not the teacher. All right, so paper. So if I pick paper and player 2 picks paper, it's a tie. If I pick paper and player 2 picks rock, then I win. Player 1 wins because paper covers rock. And if I am paper and player 2 is scissors, the dreaded scissors, then I'm going to lose, of course, so player 2 wins. There we go. So that is all of those blocks. So still nothing's going to happen yet because we don't, well, we can actually just, yeah, we're not going to have any feedback whether player 1 won or player 2 or player 3. So we're going to test this in just a second. We're going to do some fairly complicated, some code here that makes win, lose, or tie flash on the screen. We're not going to do it quite yet, though. I just want some confirmation that this is working before we go ahead. So I'm going to flip over, before we take our next break, I'm going to flip over to P1 win here, which is a sprite that I've created for you. So let's go over to there. There's no code in there right now. We're just going to very quickly say when I receive player 1 win, so when I receive P1 wins, let's go show here because it's hidden. And we'll have to tell it to be hidden when we click the green flag as well. So we'll go when green flag clicked. We'll go show under our looks menu. All right, so that will very quickly give us some feedback. It'll just unhide it. Later on, we're going to do something a little more complicated to make it appear and disappear. Let me just show that graphic right now. It appears to be behind the other stuff. So maybe we should move it to the front. I'll go to the front layer when I click the green flag. Yeah, and that'll bring it to the front. There we go. All right, we're going to add to this code in a second, but I want to move this over to the other objects as well. So I'm going to take both these blocks of code and drag them over to P2 win. And I will also drag them over to tie. So remember, when you're pointing, make sure it wiggles And there we go. So I'm going to save my file now. All right, so everything should be invisible when we start playing the game. Sorry. Hold it. Oh, we didn't do a hide. I did a show here. Sorry. So, sorry. When the green flag is clicked, it should be a hide. Sorry about that. I made a little mistake there. Let's go and fix that for all of these guys. Player, when green flag clicked, let's clean up these blocks. When green flag clicked, we'll hide. And do the same thing here. Clean up my blocks. When green flag clicked, we'll hide, and then we'll get them to show if we win or lose. Okay, so that looks good. Now I think we can test our code. So let's go stop, click the green flag. So my thing started right away, right? It's because player 1 picked and player 2 picked. Both should be at 0 now because we haven't picked yet. And they're not resetting to 0. Where in the code do we set those variables back again? Player 1 picked, player 2 picked. They should go back to 0 right at the beginning of the new round. And I don't know if we've done that yet or not because it doesn't seem that it has. So let's go back to player 1 and have a look here. So when I start a new round, player 1 has picked, should go to 0. And player 2 has picked, can go to 0 as well. So we'll put that here as well. Set player 2 has picked back to 0. Now, those variables, this is a problem I had yesterday with this, where this variable wasn't flipping back to 0 even though I told it to in the code. And what's that about? Okay, I'm going to sort that out of the break, and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're back. There was a little thing that I forgot to do. We've just tested our game, and there was an error similar to the one that I had yesterday, where the variable wasn't resetting itself. And this is what stymied me yesterday when I was doing this live, and I ended up having to refilm it. But all I did was refresh my file, restart Scratch basically, and then the variable was resetting itself. So I have no idea quite why it was doing that, but it's fixed now. And so if you ever have that problem where a variable's not doing what you told it to do, you might want to try that yourself. It's just a weird Scratch thing that I really don't understand. Okay, so let's go back to our code. Just one thing I forgot to do in the player 1, player 2 wins blocks here that I set up, which is that I forgot to change these around. So this should say P1 wins for the P1 wins graphic. The P2 wins graphic should say P2 wins, and as the message that we're receiving. And of course, the tie one should only work when it receives the message that says, well, we've tied. So we can test that out now and see how it works. It's looking pretty good. So let's go click the green flag. Player 1 will pick paper, and player 2 will pick scissors. And of course, scissors defeats paper, so player 2 wins. Let's try that one more time. Green flag. Player 1 will pick paper. Player 2 will pick rock. And player 1 wins in that case. Now, we haven't given ourselves a score, as you've seen. We'll have to fix that later. This is just kind of a rough bit of code here. Now, let's actually go and fill these in more detail now that we've confirmed that everything's working properly. So let's go back to player 1 wins. And we're going to do something a little more fancy here, I think. So where's my code here? All right, so let's start with the green flag. I'll zoom in my screen here a little bit. All right, when the green flag is clicked, we're going to hide. The go to front layer can stay there. It's not in my documentation, but it obviously matters. We're also going to clear graphic effects. Well, do we? Yeah, we do. We change the color effect of the win when this happens. So we have to clear the graphic effect so that if we change the color, it goes back to the original again. So I'm going to go to my looks menu. And I'm going to grab clear graphic effects, which is this one right here. And I'll pop it in there. Now, we can put our game over condition in here as well. So let's do that right now. We're going to wait until player one score is greater than 4. So until you score 5, and then the game over will happen. So this it's not going to go to this. It'll basically be stuck here until the game is over. But then it's going to flip over to this when I receive, and that's where most of the action is going to happen. But let's get that winning condition in there right now. So we'll go to our control. Let's go wait until, which is right here in our control blocks. It's a little one. Wait until P1 score is greater than 4. We don't want to say equal to 5 because if something weird happens and we end up scoring 2 points at once because of a bug, it will get us into trouble. So we like to be in the habit of always going greater than a certain number. So P1 score is greater than 4. Then we can do our winning conditions, which are some funky graphics here. Let's go add a repeat block. We'll go to control. We're going to repeat, let's say 5 times.
Mr. T?
Yes, Avi?
Isn't this signaling that P1 has won? Because this is tie. You're in tie right now.
Oh, I am in tie here. I was supposed to be over in P1 win. Thank you for alerting me to that. So I'm just going to drag this code over to P1 win. Thanks for the tip, Avi. I think that let's make sure that's there. Yeah. All right, let's just, I don't think we'll be needing this code on tie. So I'm actually just going to trash everything except for the hide in here. That's all we need. All right, so the tie should just be hide and show for now, and we're going to go back to P1 win. Sorry, I said I was working on P1 win, but I clicked on the wrong one. Thank you, sharp-eyed Avi, for helping me sort that out. All right, so, yeah, okay, great. So here we go. When green flag clicked. So we're going to repeat 5 times here. P1 has player 1 as 1. So we're going to change our color effect here. So let's go to our looks menu. We'll go change color effect by 25. We're going to have it basically blink. So we'll have it show here. Then we'll wait. And then we'll hide again. So we'll go show. And then we'll wait half a second. So wait 0.5 seconds. Then we'll hide. And then we will wait another 0.5 seconds, and then we'll show again. Anytime you have a delay like that in a loop, you have to do it twice. Otherwise, it's going to show, hide, wait, show, hide, wait. You have to show, wait, hide, wait, just like that. That was a mistake I used to make in this kind of stuff until I finally figured it out and got it through my thick head. Okay, so we're changing the color. Yes?
You said I was going to blink, but you put change color effect, not brightness or ghost effect.
Well, the show and the hide are what's going to make it blink. So it's going to, every time it blinks on and off, it's going to blink on and off with a different color. I think we can actually show you that right now if I make my screen a little bigger here. I'm just going to pull loose this repeat block so we don't have to wait until, and you can see what this looks like right now. You see what we're doing? And every time it blinks in, it's a different color. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right. We also should have a sound effect in here as well. So right before this repeat block, let's add a sound effect to show that you've won. I'm not sure if I have it loaded up in my starter file here. No, we're going to grab the file called win, or the sound called win. So again, we went up to our sound menu at the top, and I'm going to go choose a sound. We'll type in win, and we're going to play that sound. There we go. So we're going to go start sound, because we don't want it waiting. We want everything blinking while we're playing the sound. So we'll go start sound, and I'll just pop it in right before or right after the wait here. So if you want to see what it looks like, we can pull it loose and click here. There we go. And that's looking quite nice now. All right. If you wanted to time this properly so that the music was going at this, so that the music ended at the same time as the repeats, you might want to make that a 4 times loop instead. Let me try that one more time. Oh, it's still blinking one too many times. Hey, let's try 3 times. Yeah, that to me seems more natural. It should only be blinking while the music is playing, right? So that's a little tweak I'm going to add to the program here just to make things look good. All right. Now, the other thing we have to do here is we have to make this blink in case so every time we win, we want this to appear and blink a couple of times and play music. So the reason that I put this color effect into here is and different music is so that we would know that we won the game, not just that we won this round, but we won all 5 rounds, right? Let me save my file here again. All right, so under player 1 wins, we've already gone to the front layer here. So we need to do a couple of things here. Before we show, we're actually gonna put that inside inside the block later. So we have to change our score here because of course we've scored a point here. So let's go to our variables. We'll go change P1 score by 1. There we go. And now we can go, we're going to grab this repeat hide loop here that we've already done. I don't want to do it all over again. We're really just doing the same thing again. So let's go play a sound here. Oh, okay, yeah. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to grab this repeat 3. I'm going to duplicate it. So I've moved my cursor right over the repeat 3 because that's the only part I want to copy. I'm going to drag it under here. Yeah. And I'm also going to have it inside this loop. Every time it shows, I'm going to play a very short sound, and that sound is called water drop. I think it might already be in here. Here it is. So it's going to make that sound bop, bop, bop every time. So we don't want it to be the same sound as when we win the game. We just want to show that we've won this round, right? And so that's why I'm adding a different sound. So that sound can play every time the show appears because it's a short sound. So we'll go start sound, water drop. And so now when I get the message, is there anything else that has to be added before we test this? Oh, we want to set that variable player 1 can pick. We'll set it back to 1 again. So let's go to our variables. Set play outside of the loop here. We'll go set player 1 can pick. Let's make this a little bigger for you guys. Set player 1 can pick back to 1 again so that we're allowed to start picking again. And the last thing we want to do is start a new round. So let's broadcast a new round. We'll go to our events and we'll broadcast start new round. The other thing I forgot to do at the end of this green flag clicked is our game's going to be over, so we can stop the game here as well. I'll just go and add a stop all, which is under control near the bottom here, stop all. And we're good to go here for P1 wins. So let me show you what that code looks, or what that looks like when executed. And there you go. There's a win. We don't really want to change the color effect for this one, so I'm actually going to pull that out. It's just an optional thing that I wanted to have when we won. So I think this should always be the same color. There we go. Beautiful. So let's test that out right now. We've got to set it up so that player 1 can win. So I'm going to go rock, and player 2 will do scissors, I guess. So here we go. I'm rock. Player 2 is scissors. And I win. There we go. So that's working nicely now. Okay, beautiful. And my score is increased by 1. Everything is going beautifully here. I'm just going to take a little break, and then we're going to finish the game up. Okay, so I've copied over all the material from P1 wins, and now I can change it around a bit. So this should now say when I receive P2 wins, and we're going to change P2 score, and we're going to change this variable to set player 2 can pick, and we can still start a new round here. And here's the spot where we have to wait until P2 score is greater than 4. So let's go P2 score. Where is that gone? Here it is. P2 score, and the rest of it all works fine. So that was really all the changes we had to make to that was just variable names. Um, Now, for the tie condition, we don't need everything that's under the green flag because all we have to do for the tie is hide it. We don't have to blink or do anything weird with that because that's not a winning condition, of course. Tie cannot win. So I'm going to go drag over the when I receive block from player 2 and I'll drag it over to the tie condition. All right, so now I've got under tie, I've got when green flag clicked. And now I'm going to change a few things around again. I'm going to go when I receive, P2 wins. So we'll change that to when I receive tie. Change score. Well, we don't need that at all. We're not changing our score. So I'm just going to drag that out and trash it. And we don't have to reset our variables. Oh, do we have to? I think to be safe here, we should... player 2 can pick player... We probably need a player 1 and player 2 can pick here. I don't know if I don't remember if I've done it elsewhere in the program, but just to be safe, let's flip this variable back for both these guys. Set player 1 can pick and player 2. We should probably go back and do it to the other two pieces of code as well, but it looks like everything's working right now without it. I probably flipped it back elsewhere. I don't even remember what I did. And then we can start a new round from there as well. So that's all we have to do for ties. Let's go just do a couple more tests just to make sure everything's fine, and then we can get our AI running, and then we'll be good to go here. So let's go full screen, green flag. Okay, so I'm going to pick rock. Player 2 is going to pick rock. Tie. No one scores. Good. Let's try it again. So I'm going to pick paper. Player 2 is going to pick rock. And player 1 wins, and my score goes up, and the blinking's all working. Now let's make player 2 win one. So I'm going to go paper, and player 2 is going to pick scissors. And player 2 wins. Okay, beautiful. Everything's working nicely. So we can just go ahead and do the AI quickly. It'll be another 5 minutes or so, and then we will be done, guys. So we are going to be coding the on-off button. Let me save my file in case anyone's fallen behind. So we're going to be going to this on-off button that I've created here. You can have a look at the costume. You can see that it says AI player on, and there's another flip here that says off. And we're just going to be able to, when we click on this, flip it back and forth between the two conditions. So let's start with it turned off right now. So we'll go back to our on-off button. We'll go back to code, and we'll say events when green flag clicked. We're going to switch that variable, which is called AI on. So let's go to our variables. I think that variable's already been created for you. Oh, one thing for the guys at home that I'm just remembering right now before I go any further. I don't know if the sound is available here. Yeah, the water drop exists for all three of these. If you're building this from scratch, you might not have this water drop. Remember that when you copy code over that uses sound files, the sound file doesn't carry over from one object to the next. And so it's very important that when you make copies of your code that you also make a copy of the sound file and reload it back in again. It will not copy over with the code. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled coding. All right, when green flag clicked, we're going to set that AI on to 0, which means our AI is going to be turned off at the beginning. All right, when we click the button, we'll get a little bit of audio feedback. So I'll go to sound, start sound, pop, and that's just going to tell us that we clicked our button. Let's go have a look at it right now. Oh, we don't have it. Well, that's when this sprite is clicked anyway. We don't want to do that. We actually, so sorry about that, guys. I put this in the wrong place. So we're going to set the AI to off when we click the green flag, but everything else is going to go under a new event. It's called when this sprite clicked. Of course, it's a button, so we want it to work when we click on it. So we're going to go start sound, and we're also going to go next costume, which is right here, next costume. And now our button should be working, although it doesn't do anything yet. Click, click, and there we go. We can flip back and forth between those two states. I just designed this button myself in Scratch. I just drew it with a whole bunch of parallel lines and just made duplicates of them and changed the colors. I think it looks pretty nifty though. All right, so we're going to say if costume number equals 1, which means that we're turned on. So this is just going to flip the AI variable to on or off. So let's go if costume number equals 1. So we need an equal sign. And let's go to costume number, which is under looks, towards the bottom here, costume number. So if costume number, oh, and this is an if else. Oh, Peter, who did the game mocking me yesterday and me and my if else statements. Another chance for you to laugh at me. All right, if else. So if costume number equals 1, then we're going to set AI on to. So costume number 1 is on, the on button. So we're going to go set AI on to 1. And otherwise, we're going to set it to 0. So if the button is on, it's all AI's on. If the button's off, AI's off. Now we need to connect this to something to make it do something. So I'm going to go back to my player 1 sprite, a little bit more coding to get the AI running. And that is right. Where did that go? Hold it. Where's the AI is on command here? When I receive new round. So there's 2 when I receive new rounds, player 1. And I think I forgot to put it in my documentation. That's fine. I can go and call up the original file here. So I think I'm going to have to go and update my documentation, it appears. All right, so here's the AI code. I found it on my other screen here. So we're going to do, it's going to be another block here that says when I get a new round, we're back to player 1. Now I think I already set this up here at the top, but didn't have anything attached to it. When I receive new round, no, it's not here. Okay, let's start a new one. So this is going to be when a round starts, we're going to have 2 different streams of code. This one for manual, the other one for AI. So let's go when I start a new round, which is under events. When I receive start new round. Let's magnify this, and here's where all the AI code is going to go. So we're going to set player 2 done to 0. Set player 2 done to 0. So we've got to reset some of the variables, the same ones we set up in the other start new round. And then we need to wait a little bit just to make sure everything's caught up. I'm not quite sure why we're waiting here, but let's... Oh, I think we want to wait a little bit before the AI starts working. We need a second for the player to register that a new round has started before it picks again. So I had it wait half a second. You can probably make it wait longer if you want to. Oh, and here it is. And then we're setting player 2 has picked back to 0 again. Now, I think I was having some trouble in an earlier version of this game. Player 2 has picked where that variable was flipping back again too quickly, and that's why I'm waiting the half a second. Sometimes when you have stuff happening simultaneously in 2 different streams, it's difficult to coordinate it. So let me save my file here. So just to make things easier, I had this program pause a second before it flipped that variable back so that a different part doesn't interfere. Sometimes you don't know to do these things until you start troubleshooting the game, and then you find out that stuff isn't working the way that you want it to. All right, now let's wait until player 1 has picked because the AI is going. We don't want the AI to pick too quickly. So we're going to wait until player 1 is picked. So let's go control, wait until player 1 picked is equal to 1. So let's grab an equal sign. And we can grab that variable called player 1 has picked. And we'll drop it in there. We'll make it 1. So now we're waiting until player 1 is picked. And now we're going to check and just double check to make sure if our AI is turned on here. So we'll grab an if statement. We'll say if AI on is equal to 1. So if our AI is in fact turned on. So I'm going to grab that. I grabbed an equal sign. I'll make it equal to 1. And I'll grab the variable that says AI on. I'll pop it in there. Just a couple more blocks and we'll be good, guys. So now I say AI, meaning artificial intelligence, meaning we're creating the impression that the computer is actually pondering, should I throw rock, paper, or scissors? I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. We're not actually picking. We're just going to pick a random number. This thing isn't that intelligent after all. You could, at this point, code it to do something cool. Like you could do a variation of the game where if the player has just thrown rock, or if a player has thrown rock twice in a row, that you know that the next time they probably won't. So you could do some complicated stuff here where it's keeping track of what the other player is doing and then trying to outsmart him. There are, believe it or not, actually strategies to playing rock, paper, scissors. One of the strategies is the Bart Simpson strategy, where you just go rock every time. Rock, paper, rock, and the opposing player will sometimes get so confused, especially if they're new. They'll keep trying different stuff, and they'll go rock, and they'll think, "Oh, well, next time he's got to stop doing this." And then just when he starts throwing paper all the time because he knows you're doing rock, then you flip it over to scissors at the last second, and it's a good way to defeat your opponent. So if you're really new at rock, paper, scissors, and you want to win, that's one way. Just pick one thing like 3 times in a row until the other person thinks you're going to throw it all the time, and then switch it up, and then bang. It's a good way to get them. So there are strategies to rock, paper, scissors, believe it or not. Okay, if AI equals on, we're going to switch our costume. So let's go to our looks, switch costume to, and we're going to pick a random number here. So we're just going to tell it switch to a random costume. We're going to pick a random number from 1 to 3. So there's not really any artificial intelligence involved. We're going to take that random number and we're going to make it what player 2 picked. So we'll go to our variables. We'll go set variable, set player 2 pick to the name of this costume, whatever costume 2 is or 1 is or whatever. So we'll go back to our looks. We'll grab costume name. So we're putting the name of that costume into this variable so that it knows what player 2 picked. And then we're going to broadcast that player 2 go. So let's go to events. We're going to broadcast player 2 go, and that will start it cycling through and then eventually evaluate it. And it's doing exactly the same stuff it was doing in the first one. It's just the picking is being done by something else. So this code should work. Let's give it a try. I'm going to hide my variables first. We don't need any of these unless we're troubleshooting. So we've got a nice clean screen now. Let's maximize it and give it a try. Here goes nothing. Green flag. So I will pick rock. And the AI is turned on. So hold it. Whoa. Let's try flipping this back to the on position again. I think that variable never had a chance to flip over. Let's try it again. Click the green flag. I will go rock. And player 2 is not getting the signal. So one of the variables hasn't flipped over properly. Let's go have a look at that. I'm going to take a little break here, and hopefully we can get this sorted out right away. Okay, we're back, guys. I had one minor problem, which is that we were flipping the flip switch over to turn the AI on and off, but we hadn't changed the costume to match it. And so I wasn't getting an accurate reading on whether the AI player was actually turned on or off. So at the beginning, when we switch the AI off, we have to change the costume to match it. And now our game should be working nicely. Let's give it a try. Click the green flag. Whoops, sorry. Let's go click the green flag. We'll reset everything, and I'll go paper. And you see that it's not working right now until I manually do it. And then I'll flip the AI on again. I'll try rock. And there you go. And now it's going automatically. I'll throw paper one more time. All right, I've already tested this in my couple of minutes when I was offline here, and the winning condition actually works as well. So we'll keep playing until someone reaches 5. So everything's looking great. Thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for bearing with me while we had some minor technical glitches, but it looks like everything's working great now, which is fantastic. Tomorrow we are back for Wii Video Wednesday, and I'm going to be teaching you how to integrate Scratch and Wii Video together, how to take animations and cool stuff from Scratch and bring it into Wii Video. So I'm really excited to do that, and I'll see you tomorrow.